when Oleksandr Usyk had his hand raised in 2021 to claim 3 of the 4 major sanctioning body belts from Anthony Joshua, Usyk was a worthy winner in most fans' minds. All 3 judges had it unanimous for the Ukrainian, with the former undisputed cruiserweight champion sweeping all 4 of the final rounds on the judges' cards. In the final moments of round 12, Joshua was also under immense pressure, hurt, and he looked to many observers close to being taken out. It punctuated a smart and tactical display from Usyk. So when Joshua, in the UK press conference leg ahead of the August 20 rematch, stated he was surprised not to win and genuinely thought he'd done enough, more than a few people were surprised, to say the least. And this on screen, this is the moment that Oleksandr Usyk had his hand raised in victory. And yeah, Joshua, he certainly does look surprised. Mouth open, genuinely looking surprised. Before making this video, I went back, I watched the full fight, listened for the corner instructions to see why Joshua thought what he thought. And you know what? I think his team probably did do him a disservice. But first, let's be clear about what Joshua is saying. Why did he think he was winning? So Joshua says, "I swear I thought I was. I thought I was looking like Muhammad Ali in there. Throughout the fight, I thought I was winning, but at that stage, I kind of knew it was close. I thought at that stage I was well in the fight because it didn't seem like there was any real communication as to where I'm at. Like, you're losing the fight. You're down by 2 rounds. I didn't get that. I'm not blaming anyone by saying that I didn't get any impression that I was losing the fight. I thought we were well in it. That's why when they announced the name, I was kind of like, huh? So I was jabbing and jabbing. It was hard to accept afterwards. Now when I watch it back, I think he won by 3 rounds. That's probably from the 9th round onwards." Okay, so there certainly is a bit to unpack there. I know there's a number of people that thought Joshua must have been delusional to think that he won that fight. But first I would say, I do wonder, because of how strong Oleksandr Usyk finished that fight, that there's this narrative that's taken hold that Joshua somehow had no success in the fight, that he was dominated from start to finish. And watching that fight back, the first 8 rounds, they were relatively tight, tactical. Joshua, he did win some rounds. He had a really strong round 6 in particular. But Oleksandr Usyk, when Joshua had success, would respond. He'd make adjustments when needed. He used his jab to great effect to either set up his left hand or use it as a blinder to disrupt Joshua. The footwork, head movement, and ability to create angles was also elite. And it was those final 4 rounds where Usyk ran away with it. So Joshua was saying that he was boxing like Muhammad Ali. Well, perhaps a faded version of Muhammad Ali. He was boxing decently, but it wasn't Ali-esque. He just wasn't outboxing a master boxer in Oleksandr Usyk. The game plan, certainly has been called into question, trying to outbox the boxer. And Joshua's previously deflected on that to say, well, you need to talk to the training team as they were responsible for the game plan. So what of his corner? Much of the corner advice in this fight, or this first fight I should say, it was very tactical, but towards the end of the fight, there were more replays than dedicated seconds listening to what the instructions Joshua was getting. But there was one section of instruction after round 10 that I thought was particularly telling.
Listen, you've got 2 rounds left, you just got to be smart behind that jab, okay?
So at that point, 2 rounds to go, there was no real urgency in the corner. You didn't hear that in Rob McCracken's voice. He was just telling Joshua, be smart behind the jab. That can only indicate that the corner thought that he was in control and he was going to win if he made it the 12. So on the strength of that instruction from Robert McCracken, you have to put some stock into what Joshua was saying. I mean, I'm still left wondering why Joshua's corner would be telling him not to finish strong, not to be aggressive, and why they thought that he was winning and seemingly comfortable enough to not really urge him on. Maybe they genuinely thought that he was. I mean, it could be pure delusion and seeing what they wanted to see. And through the course of the fight, Joshua's corner could also be heard yelling, and this is rather incessantly, and I was listening out for it. Brilliant work, brilliant control, brilliant AJ.
Brilliant control! That's the
And sometimes those brilliant shouts, they were being made when very little was happening. Perhaps his corner thought that hometown advantage was going to be enough and it would see Joshua get the win. And one judge, after all, did have it 7 rounds to 5. And if Joshua had have won one more round in those final 4, he would have had it even on one judge's scorecard. And it really wasn't an even fight in terms of the scoring. Perhaps it was also just a case of his team giving Joshua the benefit of the doubt in what they saw as tight rounds. He was the champion after all, and they are after all his team, and they will naturally be biased to some extent. But the fact that no one from his corner picked up that Joshua needed a stoppage heading into that final round, it is a bit shocking. And you can see here, this is a shot from the corner. No shortage of people who were assisting on the night. But ultimately, Robert McCracken, he shoulders the blame as the head trainer. He was giving the bulk of the instruction, at least from what we could hear from the different bits that were shown of Joshua's corner through the fight. I guess we will never know what could have or would have happened had some urgent instruction been delivered. And whether the lack of communication on the night was a deciding factor in letting McCracken go, as well as assistant Joby Clayton, well, that's up to everyone sort of guessing at this point. But something did need to change though after a much too cautious performance. So in comes Robert Garcia, a trainer who likes his fighters to come forward, be aggressive. But interestingly, Angel Fernandez stays on. And he was, of course, a big part of the training camp for the first fight. He even led it for a period of time when McCracken was at the Olympics with Team GB. There appears to be some hybrid training setup, no one trainer in complete control, and that is interesting in itself, considering Joshua noted in his comments from the first fight in the corner that there was too many voices. And are there still too many voices in the corner? Well, it's a question. Will Garcia give it to Joshua straight in the rematch if he is losing, if he needs to do more, if he needs to really sort of put himself at risk? Will he tell him what's really going on? Tell him, you're losing the fight. Joshua said he would have more to give if he was told that in the first fight. So I guess potentially we're going to see if he does have any more to give in the rematch if he finds himself behind.